And we pray. In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful, I bear witness that there is no God but Allah, who appeared in the person of Master Muhammad. SubhanAllah. In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful. All praise is due to Allah, the Lord of the worlds, the Beneficent, the Most Merciful, Master of this day of judgment in which we now live. Thee alone do we serve, and Thee alone do we beseech for Thine aid. O Allah, guide us on the straight path, the path of those upon whom Allah has bestowed Thy favors, not the path of those upon whom Thy wrath has been brought down, nor of those who go astray after they have heard Thy teachings. Say He, Allah, is one. Allah, on whom we all depend, neither begets nor is He begotten, and there is none like Him. Ameen. All righty. In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Most Merciful, we thank Him for His prophets and their scriptures. We thank Him for Abraham, Moses, Jesus, and Muhammad. In this dispensation of time, I bear witness that Allah God intervened in our affairs in a divine person of Master Fard Muhammad. I bear witness that the most honorable Elijah Muhammad is his divine messenger. I further bear witness that the honorable Mr. Louis Farrakhan is the extension of God's mercy and grace, the man of the hour and national representative to the most honorable Elijah Muhammad. I would like to greet us all in the greeting words we say in the Arabic language, a greeting of peace and perpetual paradise of Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam.
You could come off. You just say
okay. So here's the thing. That's my bad. I put it to where when they come in, they can't unmute themselves because
okay.
So if you want me to take that off, I can.
It's a lot of people on here, so that's fine. So basically, this is how it will how it's run down. If you have the book How to Eat to Live, if you want to read, you will please put reader in the chat. Sister Paige will call on you in a sequential order. If you are agreeing to read, that means you are agreeing to read 2 to 3 pages per section that we have a reading. Once you finish reading, we will open up the floor for discussion. If you have any comments or questions on what was read, please put master in the chat. Again, just put master in the chat. You'll be called upon to speak in the order received. Do your best to cite your sources when quoting the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. Something as simple as the minister said in Savior's Day 2017, such and such and such. So that we can go ahead and further study what you're saying, and to really just fact check as well to make sure that everything is everything. We will open up the floor for about 10 minutes per reading. When you do your master, you have approximately 1 minute to speak. When your minute is up, you will see a clock. Thank you, Sister Rachel. Sister Rachel is the person that keeps time. She certainly be keeping time. So make sure that you are looking at the screen, because once you see that clock, you know that you have reached 1 minute. Sister Rachel, I'm going to ask you to do something further for when that minute and a half reaches. I would like you to just come off mute and just say, thank you. Your time is, is upon, because there are so many people in here. And, even when we're on the calls that are a little smaller, we go on and on and on and on and on. But because there are so many people in here, I want us to be able to respect each other's time and each other's master. So just keeping it at 1.5 minutes per person talking, if you could please do that. And Sister Rachel, are you able to come off mute right now just so they can hear your beautiful voice? Can she hear me?
Well, yes, ma'am.
Thank you. So that is Sister Rachel's voice. She never comes off mute, so this will be her first time in a long time that she will be speaking. Basically, she will let you know that, if you could please wrap up your comments and allow others to participate. A little bit of code of conduct, right quick. Just be respectful of other people's questions and thoughts, especially in the How to Eat to Live section or reading of the book. Not all of us, most of us, 98.999% of us are not following the How to Eat to Live 100%. And that's a fact. So making sure that we're respectful of other people's thoughts and questions, and everybody doesn't know everything. And that's absolutely okay. And just being kind and gracious to one another. No profanity whatsoever. This is not, and I am a person that be using profanity on my off days, but we will not be using it on these days. We will try our best to maintain our tongue, be presentable when on camera, For the brothers, if you could just not have on like wife beaters, excuse me, not wife beaters, that's not a good word to say. That's, what is it? Tank tops, that's what they call. Tank tops, spaghetti straps, for the sisters, making sure that you are covered as much as you can. I'm not asking you to put on a headpiece and a whole garment, but a t-shirt will do. Come ready to learn. If you're an FBI agent, you can get off right now. And please have your note and pen to take notes. I also have mine right here because I'm always taking notes as we are going on. It's something about putting your pen to the paper that allows you to remember stuff a lot better. So right now we are on page, after we'll get to about 7:30 is when we'll start closing out. And we read from our C1 book, which is it's like a small dictionary of cool words, just to say the least. So we read from that book, we do a word each time and its definition. We come from the Teachings 2.0, it's a Twitter book. We either come from the 1.0 or the 2.0. You'll see it as either a green book or a blue book, and we just open it up and read a question out of there. And then we finish off with the Holy Quran and we close out in prayer. And right now we are on page 51 of the How to Eat to Live book. If you are able to read, please put reader in the chat. It's going to be hard to man the chat because it's already lots of chats. So who put reader in the chat?
Whoever you want to choose, just call them out and then I'll ask them to unmute themselves and then they should be able to unmute.
Got it. Sister Sakina, can you please?
Assalamu alaikum, everyone.
Salam.
Okay. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Food can be life or death. We can shorten or destroy our lives by the way we prepare and cook the food we eat. Allah, in the person of Master Fard Muhammad, to whom praises are due forever, taught me that all our food, not including fruits, should be cooked until thoroughly done, and it should be seasoned with salt where necessary. We should eat food. The food we eat should not be poisonous food, such as the flesh of swine and of wild animals, birds and beasts. We should not eat fish that weighs more than 50 pounds. Water scavengers in the form of the fish family and other water animals of that kind. As we know, there is much animal life taken as food from water today that we should not eat. The believers of Islam should be aware and not eat such foods. In cooking your food, be sure that you cook it thoroughly, but not to the point where it loses its taste. Safeguard your delicate stomach that has to digest all that you eat by not overburdening it with trying to digest half-cooked food or raw food and the acid gases from such foods. This is what hastens the doctor to your bedside, and after that, the undertaker, and after that, the gravedigger. Remember, we kill ourselves by what we eat and how we eat it. Just as food is our source of life, it is also our source of death, as God has taught me. Food keeps us here and it takes us away. For a long life, take long intervals between your meals and do not eat over one meal a day.
I think you can stop right there.
Okay.
Thank you kindly. All righty, so we will get into our first part of our discussion. If you have anything that you would like to say, please put Master in the chat. What I will do is post some questions that'll keep us on track. I did forget this in the beginning. As always, spirits high. Smile. Thank you, Sister Mariam. I see you smiling. So he talked about scavengers in the first part of the reading. What are water scavengers in the form of the fish family? If we could give some examples of what that is, some water scavengers. And if you would like to put Master in the chat, and you can come off of mute and do that as well. I see people saying lobster, crab, shrimp. Sister Samantha, can you please come off of mute? Are you able to take Sister Samantha off of mute?
Yep. Matter of fact, this is what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna take off I'm gonna allow them to unmute themselves. Everybody just be disciplined, please. And and don't take yourself off of mute all at one time. But Sister Samantha should be able to do it now.
This is Sister Samantha. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
My question was about the 1 meal a day, and I'm sorry, I know we're on scavenging, but if anyone is having difficulties like me, it's not what I eat. I'm able to take out the things I'm not supposed to. It's that 1 meal a day that I'm trying so hard to get, but I'm finding that I'm having symptoms sometimes of dizziness during my day. Can anyone expand on how they may have been able to accomplish this?
How many meals was you eating ahead of time? Well, before now.
I am now 50 years old. I started listening to the minister at 41. And so I had been eating my 3 meals and maybe then some before then.
Okay. Here's what. Okay, let me see. There's a part, I think he answered this in the book, but I'm trying to find it right now. If you're not eating. Okay, here's what I see. Children and babies should eat at least, if you are now eating 3 meals a day and you would like to eat one meal every other day, you should not all of a sudden change from 3 meals a day to every other day to 1 meal every other day. First drop to 2 meals a day. So he recommends us in How to Eat to Live, first drop to 2 meals a day, then 1 meal a day, and then 1 meal every other day. So don't try to skip ahead and do it like that. And if we're looking for the page number is, it doesn't give the page number, but it is on the Final Call. If you Google the benefits of eating 1 meal a day, Final Call, it will show up right there. But he says start with 2 meals a day. Then as you get comfortable with that, then do 1 meal. And what you will find when you get better at fasting, you won't even be hungry because your stomach is going to shrink. So oftentimes when we fast for 3 days, we may have in our mind, man, I'm finna eat up everything. But after we do that 3-day fast, many of us, what I speak for myself, I only eat like half of my plate because, my stomach has shrunk at that time. So try 2 meals a day and then go from there.
That's right. And also, ginger has helped me a lot. Using ginger, it does curb the appetite pretty well. So getting some ginger, cutting it up, putting it in a tea, and that sends me through the day. And I'm a little girl, so y'all see I be needing some food, but ginger helps very well.
Director also.
I hear somebody, but your sound is a little low, beloved. Well, I guess they all. Okay. So also tilapia, those men that know, tilapia is a scavenger. And being that we have an issue of water pollution, everybody talks about water pollution, but we're eating the scavengers that are there to clean up the water, such as shrimp, such as tilapia, such as the crab, that are bottom feeders that need to actually do their job. And I wanted to show us a picture real quick, just to get us in the right mindset, because it's really hard to get off a certain food. So I wanted to show us this picture of
this one. Sit down.
I hear somebody. If you're able to mute your phone, please, that would be nice. Why is it not? It's not showing for some reason. I was trying to show you a picture of shrimp and roaches. Shrimp and roaches are actually related. And Black people, I know we hate roaches. And because they're related, it doesn't make any difference between a roach and shrimp. They actually look just alike in their natural form. And lobsters and rats. So stay away from those kinds of foods and you will be all right. All right. Anything else? Anybody else before we move on into the reading? I'm also going to screen share the actual book. For those who may not have the book, I'm going to go ahead and screen share the PDF as well, so you can read along and be able to digest it, because it's one thing to hear it, it's another thing to actually be able to see it. I see that we have Brother Henderson or Bree Henderson, and then we have Tony X. And then after Tony X, we will go ahead and move on into the reading. Somebody said they're having trouble hearing. Or can y'all hear me okay? Very good. All right, praise the Lord. And Sister Sheba put the link to what I was trying to show you in the chat. So if you could just click on that link, you'll be able to see the relationship between shrimp and roaches.
Is it Sister Bree and then Brother Tony?
Yes, sir.
Okay, Sister Bree, go ahead.
Bree Henderson. All right, Tony.
You got to unmute yourself.
Have you unmuted yourself, beloved? Let's see if I can find him. I could probably unmute him. Tony X.
Yes, sir.
Okay,
Can
there
you
you
hear
go.
me?
Yes, sir.
Oh, praise be to Allah. I just wanted to help the sister that was asking about, she's 50 years old and asking about how to get to the 1 meal a day. That was a problem for me when I first came into Islam in 1995. I was in El Reno, Oklahoma, in prison. When I was in prison, the brothers gradually taught me how to eat 1 meal a day. They gradually took me off pork. What they was giving me was the book, like you said, read the book. The sister said, read the book, it helps out a lot. Being real brief, what I did, if I was eating 5 meals a day, I would go to 1 meal a day. And then, not 1 meal a day, 4 meals a day. And then, like Brother Ben said, gradually break it down. But be patient with yourself. Trust in yourself. And then by reading the book of How to Eat to Live, doing research, getting information on the benefits of how to eat to live, it would help you out a whole lot, because now you're changing your attitude, you're changing your mindset, and you're coming to the thinking of God, eating 1 meal a day. Assalamu alaikum.
Very good. Thank you. Thank you so much, sir. I'm off camera real quick because I'm going to get the screenshots of the reading. Sister Sakina, you stopped at the first paragraph. The first chapter, I believe. Yes, ma'am, you did. So I'm going to go ahead and screenshot up the next couple of pages. And if you are able to read, please put reader in the chat while I share my screen. Right now, I am sharing my screen. So our next reading is How to Live More Than 100 Years. Who is our next reader? Let me see. Oh, we have Sister Mariam. Sister Mariam, you could go ahead before we go on to the next part of the reading.
Yes, ma'am. Assalamu alaikum, family. To my sister's point of having to get oneself down to 1 meal a day by the grace of Allah only, me and my daughter are on 1 meal a day. She's 11 years old. I started her about 6 to 8 months ago. And the reason I did is because on page, I believe it's 39, but it's in How to Eat to Live, that if you start your infants off from when they start to eat solid foods, if you start them off with 1 meal a day, they can live to be 240. So when I read that, I moved forward and made sure she was able to get herself down to 1 meal a day. And honestly, if she is hungry, the kitchen is open, is at her disposal. But like he teaches us, do not put food in your mouth if you're not hungry. One thing that I am battling with myself is, since I am so diligent with 1 meal a day, sometimes I eat out of habit, when really that should be a day that I take the 48-hour. But sometimes I don't. But I need to get more diligent with that. But also with all of the about what types of fish that we should eat. Everything is contained within the book. But even with the good foods that we eat, we know that everything that's on this planet, unless you are growing it yourself, unless you have, aquaponics, hydroponic system to where you're raising your own fish and know what they're eating, you don't know what's in it. And the
That's right.
purpose of the 24-hour eating regimen is because it allows your body to detox, get rid of the poisons that you're going to inevitably get anyhow with living in the world that we live in. So once you get there, obviously try to get the best foods that you can possibly get, but know with assurance that he tells you why this is why we have to eat this way, because the food is poison.
That's right. Very good. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Also, they're talking about salmon in the chat. Certain fishes, even being aware of certain fishes that are not scavengers, but this enemy is definitely playing with them. So, for example, you go to the market and you see wild caught fish or you see farm raised fish. Don't get the farm raised fish because it's not coming from a farm. It's not coming from what type of farms that you think it's coming from. It's coming from a warehouse and they're swimming inside of metal containers, big metal containers. So yeah, don't get those. Half of the time they're GMO and grafted anyway. So, and also with the, no, I'm gonna leave that alone because I don't want to scare us too much. Just be very, very careful with the fishes that you buy. Trying to stay away from things that are on styrofoam. Styrofoam contains formaldehyde, which is a known carcinogen. Most of our meats, most of our fishes, all that stuff is packaged on top of formaldehyde. So trying our best to stay away from those type of things as well. Go to a fish market. Do your best to go to a fish market, getting wild caught fish, things that are, oh, thought I hear myself. Things that are not packaged or has not been dead for 3 years and then they wind up selling to us in the store. So we will go ahead and move on into the reading.
We
I
have
believe-
Brother Lewis, reader.
We have who?
Brother Lewis.
Thank you, Sister Paige. Brother Lewis, can you please move us forward into the reading?
Hey, peace, family. I hope y'all can hear me. Can everybody hear me?
It's a little muffly. Are you able to move somewhere else?
Okay, 1 second.
Mm-hmm.
How's that sound? Is that better?
Much better. Praise be to Allah. It looks like his phone just dropped off because it said Lewis Martin left. Okay. So let's try somebody else. Anybody else able to get us started with the next reading?
I'll read it. Shoot.
Thank you kindly.
All right, here we go. Want me to read the whole thing or we just doing a paragraph?
No, you're gonna read the whole that whole chapter to how to live more than 100 years.
All right. Allah God has taught me in the person of Master Fard Muhammad how to eat to live, so that I also may teach you. He desired to extend our lives from short span, averaging 62 years, to a span of 1,000, or for as long as we desire to live. He said there's no set time for us to die. We kill ourselves daily by means of what we think, what we eat, and what we drink. Think about it, and you will agree that we kill ourselves. As I said in the earlier chapter, How to Eat to Live, there's no way of prolonging life except by being careful, watching and examining what we put into our bodies to sustain life, and the regularity of eating and drinking habits. We have been taught what to eat and what to drink by our people, the white race, who has never obeyed the law or religion of Allah God. These rules Allah God gave Moses's people in the 10 Commandments for their God, clear as a mirror, law and guidance, which they should not forget. However, they kept none of this. Everything that Allah said, thou shalt not do, they have ignored and said, thou shalt do. Therefore, the Christian race is no example or guide for one who seeks to obey the law of Allah God, for God now threatens to remove them from the planet Earth. If they would stop deceiving the people, making them believe they are what they are not, and trying to change the natural religion of Allah God into an unnatural, which is false, their doom probably could be delayed. There is a sect among them whose members call themselves Orthodox Jews. a few of them something, 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 but it's gone
Oh,
now.
I didn't know you was reading from the screen. Few of them follow the 10 Commandments. Go ahead.
A few of them follow the 10 Commandments given to them through Moses. They are wiser, more skillful than the Christians. How to eat to live. Allah God said to me in the person of Master for Muhammad, to whom all praise is due forever, that we who believe in him as our God and Savior should eat but one meal a day once every 24 hours. Eat nothing between meals, not even candy, fruit, or anything which would start the stomach digestive process. In this way, our eating of proper foods and drinks at the proper time would extend our life to 140. This will protect us from sickness. He said if we would start our infants eating one meal a day, as soon as they are able to partake of solid foods, it will enable them to live to an age of 240 years. I then asked him, how about eating once every 48 hours? He said to me, you would be ill only one day out of 4 or 5 years. I asked him, what was the cure for that one day of illness? He says, fast 3 days and you will be all right. I asked him, what about eating one meal every 3 days? He says, you would never be sick if you eat once every 72 hours. This is about 2 meals every 6 days, which would extend our lives to a span of 1,000 years, for there is no poison from the previous meal 3 days ago, which has enough power to do you any harm. The fast destroys the accumulation of the food poison. The body is made up of water, chemical, stone, metals, vegetation, and air. All that is in the earth is. We can't even hear nothing you saying.
You want me to
All
pick
that
up
is
for
in
you?
the
You
earth.
want me to pick up for you, brother
Yeah,
Ben?
go on, pick up for me.
I'll pick up for you. Although there's a record you probably do not have, it is a very old earth. It is not, as you have been made to believe, only 6,000 years old. It is more than 6 trillion years old, and it will be here for a long, long time yet. What comes out of it, such as life, cannot live as long as earth itself, but it can be made to live a very long time if carefully nursed according to its nature. As you see, and scientists teach you the long life of California redwood tree, Sequoia, I gotta help me with that one. There is mentioned in the Bible of Allah God, a saying that his people's life will be as the tree. There is an oak in Arabia under which they claim Abraham met God that is still alive today. Allah God never intended that righteous lives should be cut short of 100 years on this earth. I have experience in living and eating according to the way he taught me for a while, and I found it one of the happiest and most peaceful ways of which I've ever dreamed. I began with eating one meal a day and forced my family to do the same for several years until I was picked up and sent to prison for teaching Islam in 1942. Of course, the government said they sent me up for failing to register. That really was not the reason, for I did not come under the draft law at that time. Some of my followers, 6 to 65 years old, were sent to prison at the same time. Persons of such an age were not desired by the War Department. While in prison, the Christians made it hard for us to live as we had been. They deliberately put swine of the essence of the swine in everything. An assistant warden made mock of it when I told him any followers lived on nothing but bread to avoid swine. Keep going and somebody gonna pick up.
Where did you leave off? To avoid one.
Yeah, but bread to avoid swine. And it
I don't
picks up
see. Oh, you're on 55. My bad. I just
yes,
put it
ma'am, I'm on
before.
55.
Thank you.
I'll read.
Thank you, please.
We used to make a meal of dry baked white potatoes. We had it hard, and all my followers now in prison still have it hard. All those converted to Islam in prison at present suffer in order to avoid eating the divinely prohibited flesh of the swine. And all that God said, thou shalt not do, they said, thou shalt do. You who read this book know the Christians are the great false teachers of God. who care nothing for Allah's God's law. Since returning from prison, it has been hard for me to adjust my eating habits. For many days in prison, we had to eat 2 or 3 times a day in order to make up for 1 meal a day through trying to avoid eating the divinely prohibited flesh of the swine. This caused me and the others illness after we had cleansed our stomachs of bad food and had begun to eat at the proper time.
You can stop right there.
Okay.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. All right. So on page, I believe it was page 52, we're going to backtrack a little bit. Boom. Excuse me, 53. On page 53, he says about feeding the children 1 meal a day. So how does feeding children 1 meal a day go with how we feed children constant snacks? So what is the relationship between feeding children a whole bunch of snacks, like we've been taught in his teaching, of feeding the children 1 meal a day? Or why is feeding children snacks synonymous with, why is children synonymous with feeding snacks all the time? What are they trying to get us to do at a very early age?
You have Sister
Yes.
Sandy, then it's me.
Thank you. Sister Sam, so you said Sister Samantha?
Sandra.
Sister Sandra. If you can please unmute Sister Sandra. Did you unmute her? Is he still there? I'll mute her. Let me see. Sandra Thomas? Asked to unmute. I just asked to unmute you. Is she there? Okay, Sister Paige, go ahead.
Yes, ma'am. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to all the new faces. See you all. Just really quickly, to the point about feeding children so early and so much, we get into the emotional connection with food. And so we, have all these fond memories of cookies and cakes and Kool-Aid and all these kind of things. And so we correlate that with good times and good. So then we get older and then we start, when women are going through something, we want to binge out on chocolate and ice cream, or when, we hang out with our friends, we want to eat wings and all this kind of stuff. And, food is good. We like food, you need that to live. However, we get so dependent on it emotionally that we don't even realize that we're now using it as a crutch and not just a source of life. We're living to eat instead of eating to live. So it's just very important that we're, like Sister Marianne made the point of, we're cognizant when we're eating and why we're eating, and not just because I'm bored or just because of this or that. It's because I'm hungry. My body needs nourishment, not, I'm going through something. I'm bored. So
Time. Very good.
Assalamu alaikum. Yes, you.
We don't never hear Sister Rachel. That's so funny to hear her. Sister Nia said we're teaching the children overconsumption at an early age. Sister Rosa, are you able to come off mute just quickly so that you can share what you parsed with the word snack when you cleared it? I'm going to.
Yes, ma'am. I'm
Thank you.
able to unmute myself. What I was looking at the etymology, which means the root word of something, and for snacks, it comes from the Middle English word snack in, which means nibbling, biting, chopping, chomping, which is very much like animal beast kind of activity. And then if you go further into the word, it goes deeper into the Germanic root of, I think it was snoo, which means snout. And who has snouts? That's all I have to say.
Pigs. Pigs have snouts. Very good. So they are trying to make our children pigs at a very, very early age. And a lot of women have things that may have on here, may have am I frozen? No, I'm looking at myself be frozen. I'm good now. Thank God. Okay, a lot of women on here may suffer from fibroids, may suffer from PCOS, ovarian cysts, all types of things. Men on here may have suffered from prostate cancers, diabetes, all types of stuff. That starts from somewhere. It doesn't just pop up. It doesn't just come in a vacuum. That starts with how we are trained to eat, even things that are considered hereditary. What's hereditary is the eating habits. That's what's hereditary, is passing down chitterlings from one generation to the next. Sister, sister, KDNS, how, I know that's not, is that your first name? Cadence? Cadence.
Cadence.
Cadence. Okay, Cadence.
It's
Got you.
music. You think of music. I love music, so it's
Got
cadence.
you.
That's
Yes,
the
ma'am,
pronunciation.
got you. So those are the things that are passed on, and I saw you bear witness. So,
I'm right here.
I want us to backtrack real quick, actually, to page 52, where he discusses that thoughts. I'm gonna put it up on the screen as well.
We passing the children part.
I just wanted us to backtrack and then we'll go forward, but we could go through with the children stuff.
Oh no, if you're going back, that's fine. I was just gonna say something, but if you're coming back to it, I'll wait.
Okay, yes, sir. Because I actually skipped some questions. Actually, no, let's do this because it'll cause too much mayhem. Let's finish the children thing and then I'll backtrack. It's still in the same book, it's the same reading. It's okay to backtrack. So we'll go ahead and finish off the masters for the children. Sister Paige, who did you have?
The master list is Brother Ben, Brother me, Sister Adina, and then Brother Javon.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you want to put the line?
Yes. Oh, I was just about to say that. So when she puts the line right there, that means when she puts a line in the chat, that means that we're no longer taking any more people for that part of the discussion. That's what the line means. So whatever master you put in there next is going to be for the next part of the discussion. And it just allows us to move forward into the reading because we could stay on one subject forever. So go ahead, Brother B.
Can y'all can see my screen, right?
I can see you, yes. I don't know if, or you screen sharing?
Yeah, you see my screen? What y'all see now?
Yes,
I
see it.
Is that backwards or y'all seeing it right?
No, we see it right.
All right, so you see where it says your brain on sugar. It says sugar fuels every cell in the brain. Your brain also sees sugar as a reward, which makes you keep wanting more of it. If you often eat a lot of sugar, you're reinforcing that reward, which can make it tough to break the habit. Which takes me to the point of the How to Eat to Live. If they're trying to put the children on snacks, and if you're eating a lot of sugar, this may cause them to want more and maybe want to eat more frequently throughout the day, which means they're eating more times throughout the day because they may be addicted to this sugar, which is rewarding their brain.
Absolutely. Let me give y'all a transparency moment real quick, a confession. So my nephew, who God bless his soul, I hope that he has detoxed himself and is doing and won't be have to deal with what I did to him. So he used to cry a lot. cry. And he was the child that you couldn't look at. You know how you had a certain babies that you can't look at them when you walk past them, but the second they see you, they're gonna start crying and howling and doing all the stuff. Well, I was tired of it. And if y'all know me, I'm Auntie Nene. I babysit all the babies. And I just gave him a whole thing of Oreos because he liked Oreos a lot. Yes, Rachel, this is hard. So I gave him one Oreo and he was like, ate it. And then he started crying, gave him another one, ate it, started crying. Thank God this was about 6 years ago. Don't shoot me. But I was like, I'm tired. So I gave him the whole Oreo container and I just let him sit there and have a feast. Problem is that started his food addiction. So I bear witness to what Brother Ben just said. Don't do that to your children. Let them live a long life. Praise you to Allah. Brother Demetrius.
Yes, ma'am. Assalamu alaikum, everybody. As far as the question for snacks being synonymous with children, the same way we're receiving instructions from God, our enemies know the instructions from God, and they give us the exact opposite. So, like when you ask a question, somebody put in the chat, like Brother Ben just broke down well, that it's to start sugar addiction, overconsumption, and just to program you early at a young age to start eating like that. And most of the snacks that are out there for children, all the fruit snacks and stuff like that, most snacks that you would get that you think is for children is normally always candy. You know what I'm saying? Something with sugar in it. Most of their stuff is all the stuff that has pork in it, because you're going to get it for them because they want it. And you know what I'm saying? They're going to tug at your heartstrings. So you got to be at the same time, parents, because of how we grew up the same way, you know, for you to get your child into that habit, it's a good idea probably not to shock the child and traumatize them, because they're going to be like, oh, what you mean you want me to slow down to start eating 2 meals a day and then eventually 1 meal? Like, aren't I going to starve? But yeah,
Go ahead, finish your sentence.
but the legend. But yeah, when I would suggest, you know, even going through the book, reading with them, and, you know, just starting to educate your kids to remove what we're being taught in the schools. So, you know, their friends' parents don't tell them that you're abusing them and all that. They can combat it themselves. You know what I mean?
That's right.
That's all.
Save the babies. I thought Brother Javon was next, but I see Sister Adina.
Yes, ma'am. Brother Javon said he can save his master for the next time.
Okay.
So we just have Sister Adina next, and then we'll continue on reading.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Assalamu alaikum, everyone.
Come on, ma'am.
It's really jumping in here. I love to see this. As far as the children go, when you want to train a child, when you want to train a person, if you ask anybody that's a teacher, and I'm a teacher by trade, it's easier to train a child than an adult, because you get them at the beginning when they're foundational, when they're most malleable. So if you get them eating snacks, they're constantly eating throughout the day, like babies with sippy cups. You don't drink all day, so why does the baby need a sippy cup all day? And to the quick point about the sugar, to start off, when you breastfed, breast milk, if you ever had breast milk before, it's sweet. If you ever smelled it, it's sweet. So that releases endorphins and boosts the baby serotonin, so the baby gets a sugar rush, a natural one. So the baby always craves and desires that, because from nature, that's how the creator set it up. So you're attached to your mother. You have a sweetness and a love and an affinity towards your mother. But if you don't get that, you know, like we like to eat candy, because we Black people by and large, we weren't raised properly. We didn't get proper love. So a lot of us are addicted to sugar. Sugar does the exact same thing narcotics do to the brain. So watch your sugar intake. Do some study on sugar. That's it.
Very good. Minister Nori actually talks about that in his book, Second Self, the Black Woman's Second Self of God. That's what it's called. He talks about that in that book. If you don't have that book, I would definitely recommend getting it. The Black Woman's Second Self of God, NoriMuhammad.com. An amazing book. And he talked about the Black woman's, and a woman in general, our love for chocolate and what that means to us and why we eat chocolate so often. And I was a huge chocolate eater, and he broke it down very, very well. That made sense, which basically goes to what Sister Adina said. It's a love candy, and we don't be getting love like that. So, all right. So we're gonna go back a little bit, because I did skip part of the question. So we're gonna go back to page 52, which I'm going to post up real quick in the.
I'm sorry. What's the name of the book again?
Actually, I'm gonna tell it to y'all. It's Lord, The Black Woman's Second Self of God. I'm gonna show it to you so you could see it.
Yeah, I'm gonna screenshot it.
No, that ain't it. That's before you say I do. That ain't the book. That ain't the book. Somebody, brother, you just put it up on the screen.
No, a sister is holding it up right now. Two sisters, Sister Mariam and Sister Romel Rose.
Praise be to Allah. I got all Brother Nuri's books, and I don't got the one that I told you about in my hand. Okay, so while I'm at it, let me get the other books real quick, because they're going to be closing soon. So I want to make sure that I have everything sitting right next to me.
That was Brother Romel, by the way. Pardon me, brother.
Okay, so we're going to be going into page 52 of the How to Eat to Live real quick. We're going to backtrack just for a little while. It says that at the top of page 52, first paragraph, it says, so that our awesome teacher, he desires to extend our lives from a short span averaging 62 years to a span of 1,000 years, or for as long, this is key, or for as long as we desire to live. He said, there is no set time for us to die. We kill ourselves daily by means of what we think, what we eat, and what we drink. Now, we've been discussing this whole time things that we eat and things that we drink that can kill us and shorten our lives. What we don't discuss often is our thoughts and how much that is important to prolong our lives. The Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad said that that good food can be poisonous if our thoughts are bad. Again, good food can become a poison to us if our thoughts are bad. So we can eat all the navy beans in the world, drink all the water, all the whole wheat bread. But if our thoughts are thoughts of death, the food literally turns on us and becomes an enemy to our bodies. So the question is, what type of thoughts could prolong or shorten our life? What type of thoughts could prolong or shorten our lives? Please put master in the chat and we will get it started. Sister Paige, you can start calling off.
Yes, ma'am. So from the last time we have Brother Javon, Sister Cadence, and Brother Darren. And then we have a new set of masters.
Shalom alaikum.
It's the old set of so Brother Javon, your new master is for this question or for the last question?
No, so I put master in the beginning, but I was talking about this though. So that's
okay. Go ahead.
So I just had the page, but I lost it. So here it go, page 44. Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad said, "Live right, think right, eat right, and do right. You will not have to die to go to heaven to be like angels. You will be like them while you live." This correlates exactly to what he's saying. There's no set time for us to die. But if anything that they have to work with each other, right? So you can't just eat right and drink right, but you don't think right, because ultimately now you're going against eating to live, right? Because this is taking away from your life, because there's no set time for us to die. And when you go into thoughts, right? We kill ourselves daily by means of what we think. So ultimately, by nature, if we think a negative thought, we'll come up with more thoughts to support that negative thought, right? So we have to train ourselves up to combat positive thoughts and support the positive thoughts. And this all comes back into how to eat to live, because if you're not eating the proper foods won't support the proper thoughts. And then if you're not thinking the proper thoughts, then the proper thoughts won't. Y'all know what I'm trying to say.
We are picking up what you putting down.
Right, y'all know what I'm trying to say. So that's pretty much what we have to understand, that this is all a formula of being in heaven while you live. Salam alaikum.
Thank you. Walaikum salam. The minister tweeted a couple years ago, maybe 2 years back, that hit me like a ton of bricks. He said the pain, and this goes to wrong thoughts, or I'll just call them death thoughts that don't prolong our life. I'll put it like that. He said the pain of being non-productive makes us seek pleasure that keeps us non-productive. And bad thoughts are non-productive. And what it does is it becomes a devil's playground and makes us seek more pleasure that keeps us, or make us seek more thoughts that keep us non-productive, that keeps us going to our early grave. So the best thing we could do is when we have a negative thought, and the minister said this, when you have a negative thought, combat it with a positive thought immediately. The thought is at its weakest when it first comes in. Don't think on the thought. Don't start formulating the mind and tying an emotion to it, because once you tie an emotion to it, y'all know us. I sat in my room and thought about one thing, and before I knew it, I said, am I depressed? Dang, did I just sit here and make myself depressed when I could have just knocked out the thought by thinking of something good? The second that weak thought came in, think of something good and kill it immediately. We have Sister Cadence, and then Brother Darren. Do I have to unmute you?
No.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so the news to me is the food being and relating to the bad thoughts. I didn't know that would even do that. So that's news to me, that even if I did eat right, if I thought improper, my intake would be just the same. I didn't know that. That's new. That was it. Really. I mostly
Yeah,
try
I
to
see you doing your nails, honey. You better give the girls. Okay. Very good. Brother Darren.
The first thing was with the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, just if we are to just think a little deeply on who he is and the work that he did and the weight that he carried with the work that he did. And he said that his eating this way brought him the greatest peace and happiness that he had experienced. All right, so just think about what that means for those of us who are inclined towards the establishment of a new reality for ourselves, for our families, and for Black people. It's something to consider because it's weighty, and we need that peace in order to, to be able to accomplish. On the point of answering your question, that which inclines us towards a greater understanding of self and a greater understanding of God, which we're taught from the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, is one and the same. If our thought is on the revealed word, if our thoughts are on actual facts, if our thoughts is upon, as the Holy Quran says, the hereafter, and keeping that in mind, we're always moving towards something positive and light, despite whatever, darkness or cloudiness may be around us. We can take our mind and send it to places of bliss and keep it moving from there.
Very good. Very good. Thank you. I think you said something. I totally forgot what I wanted to raise from your point, Brother Lakeem.
Oh, Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam, sir.
Yeah, so the relationship between thinking and eating. I mean, how we kill ourselves by what we think and what we eat. I mean, right now we're focusing on how to eat to live, and I know we talked about it on the calls before, but there's also the mental diet, right? And so in the same way that, the devil puts snacks in our children, or just a habit, developing a habit of eating snacks as kind of a passive and an idle situation, we also see the same thing with our mind as well. So social media is kind of the snack of choice when you're idle. And we don't just eat or think random thoughts, but there's a lot of emotion that is conveyed in different mediums. And so we're eating in terms of what goes in our mind and our emotional state. That's what we're continuously feeding on. I remember Sister Dr. Ava years ago said that most of our thoughts, 90% of our thoughts day to day don't change. They're the same thing. We think about the same thing. And if we're thinking about nothing, idleness, or things that are non-productive, it just keeps us in that lifeless and neutral state over and over and over, which contributes us, to our death state, right? Now, getting out of that is, and I apologize because my voice is a little hoarse, and I know Sister Rachel's going to clock me in a minute, but to get out of that is...
Finish your sentence, go ahead.
To get out of that, see, I missed the clock. See, Sister Rachel says time, you can't just disobey. And I mean...
There's so much stuff. Okay, we'll do it like this. Sister Rachel, put the clock first, and then when they hit, because that's what it's supposed to be. Put the clock first when they hit a minute. Once they hit a minute and a half, then you say time.
That clock low-key hurt. Sorry for coming off mute, but hearing her say clock low-key, like, ooh.
I mean, but no, getting on how to eat to live, right? Because it's not just reorientating ourselves in terms of food, but our whole attitude towards food, right? Starts off eat, don't eat. Then we have this whole, okay, what kind of work are you in? Where do you live in the world? Okay, now what is your thinking like? Not just when you eat, but even when you prepare your food, right? What are the conditions of the earth and your thinking in your mind as you're preparing your food, right? Because if you have an attitude when you cooking and preparing your food, it's the same thing. You're eating that emotion that goes into the food, as well as whatever your emotional state is.
Absolutely.
So that was it. That was it.
Very good. The minister said that women don't just cook dinner, we are food scientists. Meaning when we get in the kitchen, pray over the food, making sure that all the food that we are cooking is in cooperation with our bodies, so that we can have a prolonged life, just not throwing something together, but we are food scientists. Who was after that? Sister Paige, go ahead.
Yes, ma'am. We have Kadar, Sister Samantha, and Brother Ijaz.
And then we could put a line in it after that.
Yes, ma'am.
Questions. Thank you.
Kadar, are you there?
Kadar, go.
Marco.
Oh yes, I'm like,
Oh.
one second. But with helping us control our thoughts to, you know, prolong our lives and our longevity, I think the biggest help to that would be prayer. You know what I'm saying? Like praying 5 times a day and stuff, that redirects your thoughts like every time you do it. So I've noticed that like in the middle of the day, you say Allah is sufficient for all my needs, it just changes your whole, you know what I'm saying, your whole outlook. Even if you can't do your like rak'ahs and everything right there, like just keep Allah in your mind and that'll keep you in longevity mode. You know what I'm saying? You'll remember all our teachings, it's you, the original man, the original woman, and everything that we can do. So it's like duration, path, outcome. You gotta have like you gotta be able to see yourself evolving in order for you to actually do it. You gotta be able to conceive it. But that's all. Something like that.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Sister Paige, you could go to whoever's next. And I'm sorry if I'm not looking at the camera. I'm looking for something in one of Minister Ava's books that reads great to the question. So once we have the finish the masters, and I wanted to read it to wrap it all up really good. Who's next?
I think I saw Sister Paige left. Probably it's a connection issue.
Okay, so the next person is Sister Samantha and then Brother Ijaz. And then what I'm going to do is put a dash in here. And remember that dash means that we are moving on to the next subject. Oh, and then Brother Ben, we can have Brother Ben after Brother Ijaz. Sister Samantha?
Yes, ma'am. I forgot to greet you guys before. Peace, family. I just wanted to let you know about the food and how when I first heard the monumental lecture, The Time and What Must Be Done by the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, and he was discussing the will in 2013, there were some things there I could not get. But since I have changed what I put in my body, and I listened to it again, and you know how relevant it is in these times. When he discussed the will, I could actually picture myself. So when you change your foods and someone when someone shows you the way God's kingdom can be, and you can see yourself in God's kingdom, that's how the way you change, when you change your food, you can change your thoughts, you can change your life, your mindset, you can start teaching and be more bolder. And that's the positive way, the way that I have changed what I eat has been to me. And I just thank Allah. I thank Allah for the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad. And I thank Master Farad for coming and teaching him. And I just thank Allah for Minister Farrakhan for that, because the way I was before to the way I see things now, man, I'm just so thankful and grateful.
Come on.
You ain't the only one, girl. You is not the only one. Brother Ijaz.
Assalamu alaikum. So when it comes to food in general, there's millenary said that for every physical phenomenon, there is a spiritual counterpart. So when it comes to food, food is a physical thing. So obviously there's a spiritual counterpart. Thoughts are your food just as much as food is to your body. So when it comes to thoughts, your negative thoughts can be as addictive as the food that you actually have. So when it comes to eating one meal a day, that also applies to spiritually, except it's more prolonged and a little more pronounced. But just wanted to raise that point. For every physical law, there is a spiritual counterpart.
That's right. Very, very good. Thank you, Brother Ben. And then we'll move on into the reading.
All right, that was a quote I wanted to read real quick from Mother Tanetta that I saw Sister Lisa post. Shout out to brother Romel, the great filmmaker. I see you down there. I see you down there. It says, normally we are not enjoined to celebrate birthdays because they they accent the age process.
Accent?
I mean, I don't know what that word is. Accent the the word process. According to the divine teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, Allah came to reverse the aging process and not to emphasize age in our evolution to be ever young. The idea of getting older makes you think older as opposed to getting younger because you are what you think. Every time we say, how old are you? We are emphasizing the age process and not the youthful, blissful days of our lives. We must celebrate our birth into the work and mission of our nation's resurrection into the new life of the hereafter, in which we will be rejuvenated and made forever young. So the type of thoughts that we should have is youthful thoughts. Even the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan talks about having youthful thoughts and not being tired, and lions never retire. So if he's 88 still speaking like that, we too young to be talking about I'm getting old.
That's right. Ain't he 89? Didn't he turn 89?
I believe he just turned 88, right? Or he just turned 89.
I don't know.
Yes, sir.
88.
Okay.
You don't have me tripping now.
Sorry. I wanted to read this last bit
88.
from Minister Ava's book. Thank you. From Minister Ava's book, Weapons of Self-Destruction. It is an amazing book, whether you're it's a guidebook for women. However, if you are a brother, you can absolutely read this book, and you can purchase it at ministerava.com. The book is called Weapons of Self-Destruction. And she says on page 23, and this goes to about thoughts, what thoughts go against life. How was the question posed specifically? What type of thoughts could prolong life or shorten life? These goes to thoughts that will shorten life. And she talks on page 23 about inferiority. She said, what exactly is inferiority? Let's start with inferior. It means lower in station, rank, degree, or grade, closer to the bottom, of poor quality, inadequate, less important, valuable, and excellent. In the field of psychiatry, an inferiority complex is an intense feeling of inferiority, producing a personality characterized either by extreme reticence or as a result of overcompensation or extreme aggressiveness. And as Blacks, you know, we be mad aggressive and we be overcompensating. However, I brought that up. I raised that because most of our thoughts that are our bad thoughts or the thoughts that shorten our lives are the thoughts that we have of unworthiness. It's our low self-esteem complex. It's our inferiority complex that keeps us in a day-to-day cycle of Brother Supreme Captain Mustafa said, everyone is functioning out of a place of depression. That we are all functioning out of a place of depression. And it's a clear sign that we're functioning out of a place of depression because we're not functioning at our best self, and we be knowing it. And we know when we're not functioning at our best self because we could see our best self, but we say, no, I'm going to stay in my sense of unworthiness. So those things actually shorten life, having the inferiority complex and the thoughts of unworthiness. Every one of us is worthy of the things that we desire of good. Put in a exclamation point on that, of good. Minister Ava also says, if you don't want it in abundance, then why want it at all? She says it in that book. If you don't want it in abundance, why want it at all? There is nothing wrong with having good thoughts that then give you a good product of your good thoughts. So we will move on into the questions. Actually, what I'm going to do is we're going to go ahead and finish off the reading because we only have a couple paragraphs left. And I'll go ahead and finish off the reading for us real quick. So we were at the proper time. When we were eating the right food in the right way, we had no doctor's bills and no medical bills. There were no medicines to be found in our medicine cabinets. However, as soon as we changed and began to eat between meals 24 hours, we began to call on the doctor and his drugs, and it brought about one complaint after another. I would never have suffered today from bronchial asthma if I had not disobeyed the law of the right foods to eat. Now I am on the way back to try and adjust my life according to the way Allah God taught me. I experienced eating 1 meal a day for several years. And I experienced eating 1 meal a day for several years. And I experienced eating once every 2 days for a long time. Then I experienced eating 1 meal every 3 days, twice a week. I never had any symptoms of disease or sickness when I was eating once every 48 hours and once every 3 days. With this method, you feel as though you never were sick in all of your life, even if you are 100 years old. Nothing shortens our life but our foolish selves. And that is the end of our reading today. So we will go into conversation again. I wanted to raise this. He talked about fasting. I wanted to talk about some benefits of fasting. The body uses glucose stored in the body, and the brain begins creating it. Sister Sheba, real quick, can you go into, because I don't want to read this improperly. Can you go into this, the steps of fasting?
Yes, absolutely. Let me pull up my notes really quick.
Sorry, I called on you abruptly. I know you got
Yep, it's okay. So I'll just go through really quick, kind of like a breakdown what happens in the body hour by hour. And so for the first 4 to 8 hours or 12 to 13 hours, the food in your digestive tract gets burned up and you experience something called autophagy, which literally means self-eating. And during autophagy is when your body literally destroys any unproductive, damaged, or dysfunctional cells in the body. And so when you get to that first 24 hours where you're not eating, that's when the body uses up all the glucose. So basically the sugar in the body, and it starts to rely on ketones. And so the brain actually creates the glucose that it needs from that, using the fat, using the ketones and amino acids in the body. And your circadian rhythm starts to change. So if you don't know what the circadian rhythm is, that's actually the natural sleep cycle in your body, the natural internal clock that your body has. So all of this stuff is being regenerated and rebalanced when you go through the process of fasting. Then when you get to 48 hours, which is 2 days of fasting, the autophagy increases about 60%, which means your body is now 60%, about 60% more of like cleansing all of those damaged and unhealthy cells out of the body. And then at the 72-hour mark, your body is boosted. You receive a giant boost in your immune system because it literally starts to produce new white blood cells, and it starts to trigger the stem cells start to heal. And so I don't know if any of you have had any family members. For example, my mother went through cancer and she had to go through a stem cell transplant. That's basically the same process, because when you get the stem cell transplant, they do, you get, it's basically like replacing the bone marrow to create, so you can have those new stem cells from whoever, you know, you're receiving that from, and resetting the immune system. But you can do that naturally by fasting 72 hours and literally regenerate the immune system. And your body doesn't create new white blood cells like that unless you basically a newborn baby. So it's like literally almost breathing new life into your body.
Thank you, because I wouldn't have said it as illustrious as you did. So thank you kindly, Sister Paige. We could go into the masters that we have.
Yes, ma'am. Closely, open your ears because there's a lot of names. Ooh. We have Brother Jamarcio, forgive me, Brother Jeremy, Brother Javon, Sister Rosalind, Brother Ramel, and Brother Kadar. Go get them.
Go get them, Tiger.
Go get them.
Brother Jamarcio, you can go ahead. Jamarcio, whoa, 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 whoa. All right, we're going to circle the block. We're going to go to Brother Javon.
All right. I just want to make a point where he said when we were eating the right food in the right way, we had no doctor bills and no medical bills. There were no medicines to be found in our medicine cabinets. And he was saying that if he didn't have to break that law that was given to him by God, he would have never had that bronchial asthma. And on page 53, he talked about, this is the point I wanted to bring up, where the cures to sickness. He didn't say go to Walgreens. He didn't say go get you some chicken noodle soup. He didn't say drink you some ginger ale. He said fast, right? And if we fast, then, you know, and we eat the proper way, we won't even have to worry about being sick. But does the dominant society, I'll say, teach us to do when we get sick? They say you need to eat something, but we're being taught by God not to eat when we get sick. So that's just a point that I wanted to bring up.
Very good. Thank you. Thank you. Sister Paige. Oh, actually, the next person is in the chat. Brother Jeremy.
Peace and love, everybody. So there's a few things that I want to add. One is when it comes to, I guess, the fasting, I actually benefited from that vastly this year. It's my first time participating in Ramadan. So I was very surprised because I had what I kind of figured out was I had a gut problem. And so I had an extremely amount of pain that I was getting when I was eating, when I wasn't eating, and all the above. So I was just like, hey, let me do fasting, because I followed Brother Ben X. I'm a part of BWO. So like, hey, let me just do fasting and kind of see what that does for my body. I promise you guys, it like cured me 100%. Like I had no more stomach problems. Like, and to this day, I still don't. And so I really am a very strong advocate of people fasting. And it's actually crazy that, we're talking about this now, because I actually benefited from it. The other thing I wanted to add was from the last chat that we had when it comes to the emotions and thinking negative about your food. Two things. One is, when people eat meat, a lot of times, especially because how they kill the actual animal, they traumatize it before it's dead. And so I don't know if anyone knows about this, but it releases a whole bunch of hormones inside of the actual meat itself. And again, that's another kind of way that causes a whole bunch of cancers and all this type of negative health effects to our body as well. And I think the other thing I wanted to add to this is us as humans, when we think negative thoughts, right? So that comes into a lot of people say, oh, I don't like that, and that's not going to taste good. That's that instant negativity thought that you say, hey, well, I'm not going to like it. So then your body produces all these negative, I guess, feelings, right? So when you try the food, it obviously tastes nasty.
Right.
I tell people, because again, I'm vegan. So I tell people, like, hey, listen, if you close your eyes and just ate it without thinking about what it's going to taste like, the texture or anything, I promise you're going to like it, but when you have this negative connotation about the food, then it's going to taste nasty and you never will get over that, And so those are the two things that I wanted to add on that before my time is up.
Thank you. Thank you very much. You said something about the, no, you made it very clear. I'm not even going to touch on that. You go to the next person. Go ahead. You said Rosaline.
Yes, ma'am.
No one else.
Not the year. Okay. What I wanted to add was it's on the last paragraph on page 53. The body is made up of water, chemicals, stone, metals, vegetation, and air. And then it also brings up, like, that's all in the earth, and we're made, like, there's a compatibility there between what's on the earth and what our body's made up of. And when I did a little bit of research about, like, food, I found out that when we eat, we're not, like, the energy that we get out of food doesn't really come from the food itself. It actually comes from the electricity, negative and positive, between our body and the food. They rub together, they create energy, and that's the energy that we get when we eat food. So it's not even, it is the food, but it's the electricity, the energy in the food. And that's what I'm trying to bring up. And it reminds me a lot of, it's in the Bible in two parts, Matthew 4, chapter 4, verse 4. Right. And this was when Satan tried to tempt Jesus in the desert about, like, turn the stone into bread. And Jesus told him, he quoted from the Old Testament, that's Deuteronomy chapter 8, verse 3, where it says, man doeth not live by bread alone, but by every word that proceeded out of the mouth of God. what happens when we are studying? I know I'm energized. I'm getting like little goosebumps. I'm getting little shivers like behind my spine. It's energizing, right? So food is great. We like food sometimes, but there's a lot more energy. There's a lot more spunk. There's a lot more happiness, a lot more positive energy that I get from studying. So I just wanted to bring that up and say that that's also a form of sustenance. Thank you.
Very, very good. Feeding on the word. That's what you just said. Very good. Go to the next person. Sister Paige. You don't gotta wait for me to say go to the next person.
Brother Ramel and Brother Kadar.
Assalamu alaikum, family. My name is Brother Ramel. I just wanted to bear witness to fasting. You know, for years I had chronic back pain to the point where, you know, growing up, I always played basketball. It was that bad to where I didn't think I would ever play basketball again. I started fasting, started practicing how to eat to live, eating 1 meal a day. And literally, you know, I played basketball last week for the first time, and I was out there like nothing happened. You know, I was able to come back from my back injury, and it's not 100%, but it's a lot better. Like you know, fasting decreases a lot of the inflammation. I don't know if you guys touched on inflammation at all, but I was learning I had a lot of, you know, my back was inflamed, so removing certain foods from my diet really got rid of that inflammation and allowed me to go out there and, you know, shoot layups and almost dunk on people. I was younger than I was, you know, back when yeah, all praise to Allah.
Very good. I'm sorry, I hit somebody. Okay, there we go. I'm sorry that messed up your ending, but we definitely heard you. And to your point about inflammation, every sickness comes from inflammation. Every illness is tied to some form of inflammation in our body. So as much mucus and inflammation that we can get out of our system, the better. Next,
we have Brother
who, Ramel, you say?
Did he just go? What Brother Ramel that just went?
Yes.
He did? Oh,
Yeah.
I muted him on accident.
Yeah, it's all good. I just went. Y'all heard me, right?
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. That's why he stopped so abruptly, because I muted him. I thought that was somebody else. Brother Kadar. Go ahead, beloved.
Assalamu alaikum. I just had a little thought based off of a sister talking about the circadian rhythm. I done a little bit of research on that, and it also, like, you can change your circadian rhythm a lot by the sunlight. Like when you wake up in the day and you like go out and like look at sunlight, in simple terms, it's like whatever time of day you consistently look at sunlight for it, like habitually, that's when your body like programs itself to like wake up and stuff. And it also stimulates like the UV rays with your eyes and your skin and stuff. It stimulates these hormones called MSHs, which are like, simply put, melatonin stimulating hormones. And scientists have found that like melatonin, like when injected into people, like when they like people trying to get darker and stuff, like when they OD on it, it has side effects of increased libido and appetite killing, as well as like insomnia. So like all that kind of plays a part together. But that was just a little thought that I wanted to leave y'all with.
Very good. Very, very good. There's no way that birds should wake up to the sun before we do. They have been made subservient to us.
My bad.
Melatonin, there you go. A sister said in the chat, waking up with the animals, and she's absolutely or doing what the animals do. We be waking up at like 10 o'clock trying to start our day. They've been up. The early bird gets the worm. So we got to make sure that, since the Bible says that these things are made subservient to us, that we're up before them, or at least at the same time, and they're not beating us to the punch or getting their day started. Getting out there and getting some sun. Very, very good. We are down to our last 10 minutes of conversation. Sister Paige, go ahead.
We have Sister Sheba, and that is it.
Very, very good. Then there's a couple things that I wanted to raise, and then we'll go ahead and close out.
I actually didn't think I was going to make it to say anything. So I just wanted to add really, really quick. I'm not sure if people know, but in Europe, they have a lot of fasting centers that are actually ran by doctors who, instead of prescribing you medication, will actually prescribe you a certain number of days of fasting. And so I think it was the brother, I forget his name, he came on and talked about the chronic pain that he had in his back. Pretty much any chronic illness that you have, almost any illness, but definitely any chronic illness that you have, there's a certain number of days of fasting that can be prescribed to you for it. So fasting, I mean, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad so wisely gave us this to make it a part of our lifestyle, knowing the lives that we're living here in America, the food that we're eating, the emotional things that we're going through. We talked about circadian rhythm being thrown off, the thoughts that we have, and all of these things. Fasting will help relieve us of the struggles that we have with it, and also restore us back to our natural states.
Very, very good. And we are doing beautifully with time. This is the most organized we've been in a long time, praise God. And there is more people in here than we've ever had. Okay, so that was the end. I wanted to raise up another question before we close out. I do see Brother Akil has his hand up, so I'm gonna let you go, beloved. But if you next time could put master in the chat, because that's how everybody's getting called on. Brother Akil, going on?
I'm here. I'm sorry. I didn't know what was going on. It's my first time here. Shout out to Brother Next for sending that out. This is great, actually. So assalamu alaikum. But I wanted to say something about, there was two things I wanted to say. The brother was reading and he had said that when you fast, when you're sick, we're told to fast, but a lot of people saying that, you should eat something.
No, he said that was backwards. He said that that most people tell us to eat something, but we're being taught to fast when we're sick.
I thought that's what I said.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Not a problem. I just want to say the messenger teaches us that when we want to know anything about Allah, we should study nature. And I wanted to say that cats and dogs, when they get sick, they don't eat. If you notice, whenever you try to give a cat food and they're not feeling well or they was throwing up, they'll turn away from the food. They won't eat for a while. We think something is wrong with the cat. And we're like, why they not eat? Because they know that when they don't eat, they'll get better by not eating. Another thing I wanted to say, I forgot what book it was that I read, but a horse had cancer and they was going to shoot the horse. They didn't shoot the horse, and the horse wound up getting loose. When the horse got loose in the wild, he went and found what he needed, and it actually cured the cancer. I don't know what type of grass, what plant that the horse ate, but when the horse came back, they found that the horse didn't have cancer anymore. The last thing I wanted to say, one of the first sisters I had read, and she was speaking about the hours. She said the first 24, the first 48, and then the 72. What book was it? Was she reading from How to Eat to Live, or I don't know exactly where she got it from when she was speaking about the stem cells? Could that sister mention where she was reading?
Yes, that was not from How to Eat to Live. That was just my own research, because I mentioned my mom was going through cancer, and that's when I started to do a lot of my own research. So it's pretty much a compilation of documentaries, reading scientific papers and experiments that have been done, and learning about some of these fasting centers as well. I will drop my Instagram in the chat. So if anybody, I know another person has some questions. If anybody has any questions pertaining to that stuff, I can share with you all the information I have.
Definitely. I read a lot about those things also. And what you had said, I came across it before, but I forgot where I got it from. And I love to get that information from you.
Very good. Thank you, Brother Akil, for raising about the animals as well and paying attention to nature. I wanted to raise this last question before we go ahead and close out. On the bottom of page 53, he says, and Sister Rosa raised this as well, the body is made up of water, chemicals, stones, metals, vegetation, and air. All that is in the earth is in some form in our bodies. So the question is, what kinds of foods are compatible with the elements our body is naturally made of? Or what foods are not compatible with our body? And we'll take about 4 minutes to discuss that. Did anybody want to throw it in the chat, or y'all want to say it out loud?
Rosalind said Happy Meals.
Get off. Get out. Brother Lakeem?
Yes, if it reads like it comes from a chemistry set, probably shouldn't be eating it.
That's right.
Most of us, I mean, we talk about farming and agriculture and whatnot, but generally, because a part of how to eat to live is preparing our own food. In fact, there's a section called cook your own meals, right? I mean, down to making your own bread, which is not that difficult at all. But a lot of processed sugars and things of that nature, because even though the chemistry, we have to understand how Satan views biochemistry, our bodies. He doesn't look at it as in an organic or holistic sense. So if you study what they call food science, they actually look at the body as nothing more than chemistry, right? To be manipulated the same way as chemistry. And so they'll just tell you like, yeah, well, we synthesize this compound, so it's no different than you find it in nature. It is explicitly different than what you find in nature, because you're taking it out of its natural element and in proportion that it exists in nature. That's what you're doing when you're synthesizing it. So when we have food, right, that we're feeding on, it's not a wonder that we can eat, and then die of malnutrition. I'm sorry, Cesar, I forgot the question. And there are other masters in the chat, so.
You made a very good point that we eat, but we're dying of malnutrition. Brother, Dr. Alim said that famine happens in the midst of food. So right now we have stores stocked up with food. However, we're dying from malnutrition, and we're actually suffering from famine as we speak, because food is no longer food. It's just a red circle, and they called it an apple. So we're gonna go on to the next master, Sister Paige.
Yes, ma'am. We have, we have Brother Demetrius, Sister Sheba, Brother Josh, and then Brother, Brother Javon.
Okay, and then we'll go ahead and put a dash right there, because we're gonna close out very soon.
Yes, ma'am.
I was just gonna say, pertaining to us being made up of those same compounds and parts of the earth, a lot of the stuff in the earth, just like our bodies, is electric. Like, there's ways to generate electricity with water, and solar power, all types of things like that. So when you put things in your body that are like, I was thinking specifically on all the high oily stuff that we eat, like fried things, or really just anything that you have to cook and bathe it in oil. However you end up making it, it slows down that electric flow that your body is supposed to have through it. And that ultimately is why we're get the itis. You know what I'm saying? You're not supposed to be tired after you eat. You're supposed to have more energy. So and that slows your thinking. It's basically like, you wouldn't put canola oil in an electric car. You know what I'm saying? If that makes sense. But that's all.
Very good. Very good. Go ahead.
Oh, yes, ma'am. We have Brother, Sister Sarah.
Oh my gosh, I think I forgot what I was about. Oh no, I was getting ready to say, and I was looking for a link because I remember I was looking for the quote. I think I remember reading that the navy bean is like perfectly balanced for our body. But I don't want to say it and mess up the quote, but I was really just thinking the answer to that question is just eating things that are alive, like eating fruits and vegetables. And even if you're making bread, the yeast going into the bread, that's alive, versus, and then I also thought about that quote when they say sleep is the cousin of death. If we're eating food that's making us sleepy, versus energizing us, that should say something right there on its own. But I'm gonna try to find that quote about the navy bean, because I thought that was really interesting in relationship to what's in the earth and how that balances, or what's the word, is compatible to what's going on in our bodies as well.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. That was very good.
Yes, Brother Ijaz and then Brother Javon.
All right, and Brother Javon was last, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
All righty.
Assalamu alaikum. So to preface this, I'm a PhD student in biomedical engineering. And just to say this, when I'm studying and what I'm studying, they just found out how to use electricity in terms of bioregeneration. So when it comes to, and this is like 3 years ago, they just found out electric bandages to actually have the ability to make your wounds reclose a lot faster, as in days time rather than weeks. And now at least I am moving into doing it into deep tissue, which is tendons and all that stuff, which is actually the biggest problems in the Black community in our community when it comes to tendons, ligaments, all those types of things that don't have that much vasculature or blood flow, which prevent the amount of ability to regenerate it. But suffice it to say, this is exactly what the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad support and complement with. So
very good. Thank you. Brother Javon?
I just want to make a point real quick to all the family on here. So he said the body is made up of water, chemical, stone, metals, vegetation, and air. Now that don't mean you go follow all the holistic healer diet people on Instagram, because he also said you do not have to eat everything that people say is good to eat. It is a fool who does that. You do not need everything that is good to eat to live a happy life. Take some of those things that are good to eat. Of course, you should have a balanced diet. I certainly agree with you there. So I just want to raise that point, because a lot of us will be like, oh, I got to go get on my holistic, alkaline, vegan, plant-based diet. You know what I'm saying? Pull it from every which way when it's much more simple than that. You know what I'm saying? So that's the point I just want to raise. Just don't get overwhelmed on how to eat to live. You know what I'm saying? It's real simple. He just said you don't have to eat what everybody tells you to eat. Right? Some of these vegans will tell you to eat kale. Well, what did the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad say? Don't eat kale. You know what I'm saying? So that's just a point I wanted to raise.
Very good. Very, very, very good. And kale, for those who do eat kale, need understanding of why he said to not eat kale. It is a digestion disruptor. It is very hard to digest. And on top of that, it is a thyroid disruptor. So you do not want to eat kale. May taste good now, may cook good now, but in the long run, and we're talking about wanting to live long lives on this call this whole time, you don't want to have to end up with something in the long run because something tastes good in the short run. Okay, so just wanted to raise that very, very quickly. For our last couple points before we go into our books, our last little readings of the Twitter books and stuff to close out. The PLU codes on fresh food. So when you look at your bananas, your apples, your oranges, stuff like that, what you're going to see is a sticker with a number on it. A lot of us don't necessarily know what those numbers mean. So if the number starts with a 4, it is a banana or whatever, a produce that either 3 or 4 is a produce that has been sprayed with pesticides. So it's grown in the conventional way, which is sprayed with a whole bunch of pesticides. And that's what we are digesting when we eat them. Fun fact, when they're spraying these pesticides, they're wearing hazmat suits. So if they can't breathe it in, but they put it on the market for us to actually put it in our bodies, that says something. So if it starts with a 3 or a 4 on your PLU code or the sticker that's on your produce, just know that it absolutely has been sprayed with pesticides. If it has a 9 at the beginning, it is organic. So if the PLU number or the sticker starts with a 9, that means it is organic. Now, if it starts with an 8, that means that it is GMO. It is genetically modified. Now, here's the kicker. They don't have to put that they don't have to put 8 to say that it's GMO. They could just put 3 or 4. So 60 to 70% of our foods that we are eating, I actually researched it so that we can put this in here. 60 to 70% of our foods that we are eating are actually GMO foods. They do not have to actually say that it is GMO, because so many people are making GMO foods. They could just put a sticker on it and say it's made conventional. So keeping that in mind, trying our absolute best to eat as much organic food as possible. Now, organic food is very, very expensive. You know what's not expensive though? The navy bean. The navy bean cannot be tampered with. In the How to Eat to Live book, he goes on and on and on about the navy bean and how it is the best food. The navy bean cannot be tampered with. They have not figured out a way. Oh, okay. Let me help you. So the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad said that the navy bean they have not figured out a way to genetically modify. They can't figure out how to get inside of it and do all the stuff that they do with everything else. So it is still a safe food to eat, and you can do all types of stuff with it. You can make burgers with it. You can make like little hot links and all types of stuff. You can put it in your smoothies. There are so many ways to contribute the navy bean into the diet. So I wanted to raise that very, very quickly. And the last point I wanted to raise, wasn't able to get into it in the conversation for discussion, but I do want to raise it. He says on page, the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, he breaks down his fasting habits due to foods available to him when he was arrested. Mind you, he was arrested not because he did anything wrong. He was arrested for teaching truth. And they say that they put him in prison for denying the draft, the Navy draft or whatever, the military draft. He was too old to even be drafted anyway. So, but they arrested him anyway. So just wanted to raise that he was not a criminal. But it says that he had to break his fasting habits due to foods available to him in prison, We should consider the freedom we currently have to fast and grow our own food, be it hydroponics in your home. If you have a little yard growing food outside in your of your home, as we are being put into a food prison as we speak. He says, I would have never suffered today from bronchial asthma if I had not disobeyed the law of the right foods to eat. That is on page 55 of How to Eat to Live. And we quite literally, he said they had them going in from dealing with the food in the prison. They had all types of ailments and had basically had them coming and going from the hospitals. And that right there is absolutely a form of imprisonment. These pharmacies, it's a prison. They got us coming and going all the time. And it keeps us in a constant state of living inside of our illnesses. So the best thing we can do is eat the best foods, fast, and make sure that we are thinking right so that the foods can be compatible with our thoughts. All right, so we will go ahead and go into our C1 book as we are closing out. In our C1 book today, our word is, we did this one, we did that one, we did that one. We're on page allude. Allude, A-L-L-U-D-E, means to mention someone something in an indirect way. For example, author alludes to Achilles in his history book. Allude, to mention someone something in an indirect way. The reason that we read this is not just for fun. We read this because the minister advised us to get this book, the C1 book and the C2 book, to expand our vocabulary. We can get anything we want in this life if we have the right words to get them. For example, Donovan Lewis Farrakhan called 1 million men to Washington Capitol with words. With his words, and 2 million came. In the beginning was the word. And the word was with God, and the word was God. We could get anything we want if we have the ability to speak a good word and be able to get it back as we combine it with work, because faith without works is dead. All right, so we're gonna go into our books. Y'all wanna go green or blue? Just shout one out.
Green.
Green.
Too late, it's green. All right.
I've been said blue first, but it's all good.
We have business economics. We're just gonna
Black.
go to the first question in the page. If y'all don't know what this book is was is a compiled. That's not a word. Compiledness is not a word. It is a compiled question. Compilation. Come on, words. Come on, C1. Come on, C1. It is a compilation of questions and answers from the minister, given to the minister on Twitter. So there's a Twitter book. The first question inside of the business economics portion, which is on page 144, is, should we be creating our own media? The minister responds, as the enemy is delighted to see a divided Black community, they work to divide our media. A united Black media would help to free us. So let us strive to do what the enemy is trying to keep us from doing. I'm gonna read that one more time because I fumbled. As the enemy is delighted to see a divided Black community, they work to divide our media. A united Black media would help to free us. So let us strive to do what the enemy is trying to keep us from doing. And I actually want to read the next question. How do we get back our control of our natural resources and wealth? The minister responds, when the power of the bloodsuckers is broken, the process is going on right now. Praise be to Allah. And then we will go into our Holy Quran, because we never want to keep that out ever. Actually, before we go into that, because that's going to be the last thing, our next reading is on Thursday. Today's Tuesday, correct? Thursday is the next time we will be meeting up. Every Tuesday, we do How to Eat to Live. Thursday and Saturdays, we go inside of our book, Fall of America. We are more than halfway done with the book, but it's never too late to get half of the words, okay? The last bulk is still going to be just as good as the first part. So don't, let that deter you from joining. Same time, same place. We're going to our Quranic reading. All right, I love when we start on a fresh page, on a fresh chapter. So chapter 70, I'm gonna read it in English. Chapter 70 is the ways of ascent. I think this is the word that Brother Ben stumbled up on. So it's ASCENT, ways, the ways of ascent, ascent, the ways of ascent. So what I'm gonna read, what we do is we read the first section and then we call it a day. Dang, this section kind of long. All right, we here now. So section 1 is certainty of punishment. In the name of Allah, the beneficent, the merciful. A questioner asked about the chastisement to befall the disbelievers, there is none to avert it. From Allah, Lord of the ways of ascent. To him ascend the angels and the spirit in a day, the measure of which is 50,000 years. So be patient with a goodly patience. Surely they see it far off, and we see it nigh. The day when the heaven is as molten brass, and the mountains are as wool, and no friend will ask of friend, Though they are made to see them, the guilty one would fain redeem himself from the chastisement of that day by his children, and his wife, and his brother, and his kin that gave him shelter, and all that are in the earth, then deliver him. By no means, surely it is a flaming fire, plucking out the extremities. It shall claim him who retreats and turns his back, and hordes then withholds. Surely man is created impatient, fretful when evil afflicts him, and niggardly, which means stingy, when good befalls him, except those who pray, who are constant at their prayer, and in whose wealth there is a known right, for the beggar and the destitute, and for those who accept the truth of the day of judgment, and those who are fearful of the chastisement of their Lord. Surely the chastisement of their Lord is a thing not to be felt secure from. And those who restrain their sexual passions, except in the presence of their mates, or those whom their right hand possesses, for such surely are not to be blamed. But he who seeks to go beyond this These are the transgressors, and those who are faithful to their trust and their covenant, and those who are upright in their testimonies, and those who keep a guard on their prayer. These are in gardens honored. And that is section 1. That is the end of the class. It is literally 7:45. We have ended completely right on time. Praise be to Allah. Again, that was chapter 70 in the Holy Quran. If y'all want to know the version, this is the Maulana Muhammad version. This was the version suggested to us by the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad. And that was section 1 of chapter 70. Today was a great class. Thank you, Brother Ben, for bringing all the friends. Make sure that you come back on Thursday. What we're going to do is close out in our Muslim closing prayer. Brother Demetrius, take it away. I'll leave you as I came before in the greeting words of peace and paradise of Assalamu alaikum. I always forget that. Go ahead, Brother Demetrius.
Thanks a lot, ma'am.
Walaikum salam.
To all the family. Attention, prayer. In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful, all praise is due to Allah, the Lord of the worlds, the Beneficent, the Most Merciful, Master of this day of judgment in which we now live. Thee alone do we serve, and to Thee alone do we beseech for aid. O Allah, guide us on the right path, the path of those upon whom Thou hast bestowed favors, not the path of those whom Thy wrath is brought down, nor of those who go astray after they have heard Thy teachings. We thank You for allowing us to come together today, Allah, and build on Your teachings, and we ask that You make us successful in changing our eating habits mentally, spiritually, and physically, and providing nourishment for ourselves out of the sustenance that You give us. Ameen.
Ameen. Come on, prayer. That was a very, very good prayer. May Allah continue to bless you all. Have a beautiful night. Eat the best you can. And as always, I love you and ain't nothing you can do about it. Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum assalam.
Alaikum salam.